So we've had an incredible net outflow and the economy is reshaping. You can also track the migration in between the Gang of Four. And as you can see, and there's some stuff's misleading here because Apple has more employees because of its retail base. But right now, in terms of losses, Facebook has lost the least number of people. But there is another, the fair-haired blonde right now that's getting the most employees out of these four companies is in fact Uber. About 1 in 4 employees at Uber comes from one of the Gang of Four. Now, not to worry about the Gang of Four. The Gang of Four has this incredibly efficient HR recruiting department that hires people, trains them, and then they leave for one of the four. That recruiting HR department is known as Yahoo. People say Marissa Mayer is the most overpaid CEO in tech. I think she's the most underpaid recruiter in the history of tech. Let's talk about the path to $1 trillion. We are going to have our first $1 trillion company over the next 12 or 24 months. So let's speculate how they get there. I think it's either Facebook through monetization, Amazon through acquisition, Google through extension, Apple through articulation. So Facebook, monetization. Facebook is growing faster than any company in history of its size. It's defying the laws of gravity in that even though it hits the laws of big numbers, it doesn't seem to slow down its growth. It's growing over 40% a year off a $15 or a $20 billion a year run rate. That's exceptional. We've never seen that before. It's even starting to eat into Google's share. Now, Google continues to grow its revenues because the market is growing faster than their share losses, but Facebook is beginning to take share from Google. However, it's mostly a one-trick pony in that the majority of its revenues still come from advertising off of the Facebook platform. But what if they were to better monetize Facebook, Messenger, and WhatsApp? Instagram is the best acquisition in technology in the last 10 years. By the way, the worst acquisition in technology was Tumblr by Yahoo. But Instagram was $1 billion. Remember all the criticism the boy CEO got for overpaying for a company with 19 people? They stole that company. It's supposed to be worth somewhere between 40 and 60 billion now. Instagram, that we track interactions. We look at the 200 beauty brands that we track. We add up the total interactions across Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and then break down the percentage of interactions between those platforms. In 2013, Facebook had the greatest number of gross interactions among the three. But as time went on, you can see Instagram begins to dominate because Instagram has 100% organic reach, meaning every message that Nike sends out to its Instagram community reaches them, versus Facebook that has become pay to play and now it's only 6% organic reach. You can see Facebook, arguably, if you take the size of the Facebook community times the number of interactions per post, Instagram is already the most powerful platform in the world. WhatsApp doubled its users to 900 million people in 2 years, and there is precedent for monetizing that. WeChat has fewer users and has over 2 billion in revenues. This is a company that is making huge bets on the future. They spend 40 cents on every revenue dollar on R&D. We've never seen that in technology for a company doing this much revenue. Most tech companies are somewhere between 6 and 12% and are smaller. And then you have a company with a bigger revenue base spending 40% of every dollar in R&D. As a result, it's arguably one of the most innovative companies in the world in terms of new product releases, its ability and its willingness to put out new products and fail, learn from them, and start again. So the case for $1 trillion is one of monetization. About 1 billion daily active users, they get about 16 bucks a user. What if they, and a $300 billion market cap, what if they were able to get to 2 billion daily active users, get that $16 to 50 by monetizing their other three assets, 100 billion in revenue? I think that gets them to a $1 trillion market cap. By the way, that $2 billion daily active users and that 50 bucks per user is just if they continue their growth on both those metrics over the next 3 to 4 years. Let's talk about Amazon. I think Amazon gets there through acquisition. Jeff Bezos denied the rumor that they were opening hundreds of stores. I think that's true. I think they are going to open thousands of stores. The cost of serving a consumer, fulfillment, getting stuff to your home, the cost of acquiring things online, and then minusing the magic and mystery of the in-store feel for brand building makes pure play e-commerce unsustainable for everyone, including Amazon. We have the first example of this, the first signals. It looks like they are starting to open stores. I believe that they're going to make a transformative acquisition. My best bets are Macy's and Carrefour. If they acquired these companies, here's the revenue, EBITDA growth, and valuation. They would end up with a company that not only gives them greater revenue and greater access to luxury brands and grocery in Europe, but takes them from 68 fulfillment centers in the US to about 950, because Macy's has converted their stores into these amazing warehouses. They'd also pick up another couple thousand points of distribution as Carrefour is also turning their stores into warehouses. It's a great time to buy. Amazon stock is up, Carrefour's and Macy's are down. Amazon could pay a 50% premium for each of these stocks and only endure a 15 to 17% dilution of their company, of their stock to buy these companies, and they would end up with a company that does $300 billion in revenue, have EBITDA of $50 billion. Granted, I'm assuming Amazon Web Services continues to grow at its continuing rate, and they get efficiencies out of these acquisitions. Growth of 12% a year, and a company that is truly multi-channel, doing 50% in bricks and 50% in clicks. I think that's a $1 trillion market cap company. By the way, you do not want to work for or invest in overnight delivery right now. Jeff Bezos has announced that they are reluctantly getting into overnight delivery. Yeah, I'm sure he's very reluctant about that. How have these guys set themselves up for vulnerability? They have raised their prices 83% over the last 10 years. They have just been crying out for competition. Guys, here comes Amazon. The way the luxury business got fat and happy raising its prices since the recession faster than inflation, stuck on their chin. We said last year, LVMH, Kering Group, Gucci, here comes Apple. The same thing is happening here. Amazon is now renting planes, renting trucks, and is going to be in this business. Google extension. Google is an incredible company, arguably the greatest concentration of IQ ever assembled on the planet. There's only two things that make money here, YouTube and Google, and they recognize they need to get into other businesses. So the question is, where should they go? If you're in an industry and you're trying to think, am I ripe to be disrupted? Would one of these players with their IQ and their capital come in and threaten me? It's pretty easy to create a disruption index, and that is to look at the price of inflation. I was not expecting that. Did everybody else hear that, or am I having a stroke? Apple is ripe for disruption. Or excuse me, cable is ripe for disruption. Hulu, Netflix came in. There's an industry that's even more ripe for disruption. It's a $1.6 trillion industry. Any guesses? It's education. And I believe that one of the four horsemen is going to get into education. To drive this point home, I teach a class called Branded in Digital Age, 325 students, 6,000 people each, almost $2 million. That's $163,000 a night. I'm good at what I do, but I'm not worth this. To just compare myself with some other people, these are some famous footballers who make about the same amount per week. Granted, my agent, NYU, takes a 98% commission, but you get the point. This means that we get paid more every week than the entire cast of Star Wars, with the exception of Harrison Ford. By the way, I think I would be fantastic in Star Wars. Thank you. Yes, the force is strong with this one. Adele is making a lot of money now because of an amazing last album, but on her last tour, she made approximately 100,000 quid per performance, where her and I make approximately the same amount of money. Comparative advantage is a way of saying, if you can do what I can do fairly easily, but I can't do what you're doing, and we're making the same amount of money, it means that I'm being overpaid. So to bring home how outrageous education costs have become in the US and to show the distinction between mine and Adele's talent, I am going to do something that you cannot unsee. connecting the world, a fantastic mission, I get it. If we could bring all the people together in the world, the empathy, the magic that's going to come off of us bumping off of each other, that's incredibly powerful, I get it, I'm going to buy their stock. Amazon, the world's biggest store, I get it, compelling vision, I'm going to buy their stock. Google, organizing the Earth's information, super powerful, going to buy their stock. What is Apple's mission? It's the strongest brand in the world. They're incredible at what they do. They make life-changing products, but it's not easy to distill their mission down to something that investors can understand. So as a result, the investment community evaluates Apple in the context of every single product release. And if it's not amazing, they take the stock price down. As a result, it trades at a multiple of EBITDA of 7 versus 19, 39, and 40 for the other. If Apple can compel or articulate a compelling vision such that we get a sense for what they're trying to do across multiple products and just get to a multiple of around 12, they're at $1 trillion. And that's why I think Apple's going to get to $1 trillion faster. Some head fakes, beacons, mass customization, wearables, I just don't think they're going to live up to their hype. My favorite is the idea of 3D printing, this notion that we can get stuff really cheap, really fast. Well, guess what? We already have that. It's called China. What's the next big head fake? I think a ton of VCs across Europe and the US are going to be wrecked by this mother of all head fakes. And that is, we have learned nothing from Google Glass. Would Hermes have ever let this happen? Google Glass isn't a wearable, it's a prophylactic ensuring you'll never conceive a child, as no one will ever get near you. People are very serious about what they put on themselves, and I think this is the next big non-thing. I think virtual reality is a big head fake. This is what you look like with this thing on your head.
Oh my goodness, that hurt your stomach! It's a trap!
This is the narrative. Right now it's, oh, this is going to change everything. Then it's going to change business, it's going to change entertainment, it's going to change video games, it's going to change commercial applications. No, it's going to change niche commercial applications. No, it's going to change porn is where it'll end up. What about society? I think Google is a modern-day god. We used to pray, get something back. Now we type in symptoms and treatment of croup, and it comes back to us. Amazon is a marketplace. Apple is procreation. Kids come to my office and say, what should I do with my life? And I say, don't compete against the brain. It's too smart. It starches out margin and basic food transportation. The heart is better. Choosy moms choose Jif. Figure out a way to tap into emotion, move further to the genitals, that's where you really start to get better margins. Men don't buy Teslas to be environmentally conscious, they buy Teslas to signal to women that they're rich but still groovy deep inside, you should sleep with me. This is a better business. Apple is the first company in history to migrate down the torso, a better computer than it's saying to our hearts, and now the ultimate signal of wealth, the ultimate signal of education, and the ultimate signal of opportunity to have a random sexual encounter is the iOS operating system. Facebook is love, it's connecting people all over the world. Some very meaningful things happening with these technologies, products that are more environmentally conscious, giving young people born into the right education in the right places incredible opportunity, and a certain level of income inequality is a good thing because it motivates us to work harder. And I love this message I got from Uber asking that I input my destination as the driver is hearing impaired. So this is a very meaningful thing. The question is the greatest concentration of IQ, intelligence, and capital in the history of mankind, are we really addressing, quote-unquote, the profound problems around health, around safety, around an absence of crime, things like that? I was asked to end on an optimistic note, which is difficult for me, but I will. The brain, and there's a lot of discussion right now around the rise of the machines and the threat of the machines. All of these people, these 4 companies, are using technology to scale, but at the end of the day, you can reverse engineer them to passion, to desire, to risk-taking. The brain is absolutely the most superior processor by a long shot versus any microchip. As Alan Turing said, could the machines take over the world? He said, yes, but you can't make them want to. Love. I think Facebook is the most successful company in the history of mankind. It's more successful than Buddha, Allah, communism, capitalism, the Kardashians, and it's primarily helping us love at a scale. The strongest indicator of your life expectancy is 3, your genetics, 2, your lifestyle, but number 1 indicator or signal of how long each of you is going to live is how many people in your life you love. Not how many people that love you. People have a lot of people who love them, report more rewarding lives, but they don't live any longer. It's how many people you love. When you take care of your parents and they move in, your life expectancy goes up. New mothers do not die. Empathy. I think the most exciting thing taking place is broadband. It gives us the ability to see real-time things going on in the world. We can walk in people's shoes. Democracies don't declare war on each other. When we feel each other's pain, we're likely to become a more progressive and better society. And as a result, some wonderful things are happening. Life expectancy and literacy are up. Poverty has been cut by 3/4 just in the last 25 years, which is arguably the greatest shared victory we have in the history of mankind. Homicide rate is down, and if you have a child today, his or her life expectancy is 100, and the likelihood he or she will die at the hands of another human being is the lowest in human history. In sum, brain, love, empathy. When we're on a beach, when we're on a desert, naked, no access to any technology, we have all the assets, technologies, and platforms to dramatically change the world. My name is Scott Galloway. I teach at NYU, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
When we talked on the phone, you told me I'm gonna do this presentation, but you have to know, I see the world always. My picture of the world is the glass is always half empty and not half full. Is that correct?
Yeah, a bit of a pessimist. Yeah, unfortunately. But you know what? Every day I hate my life less and less.
I mean, what's the main source of this bleak feeling towards the world?
I think it's chemical depression. I think as the drugs get better and I become more intolerable, at some point the lines will cross and I'll be on meds. That's an honest answer. By the way, if any of you like me struggle with anger, you anchor off things, you role play bad situations, and you find that you have a blessed life on any analytical, reasonable level, which I do, but you still find you spend too much time being angry yourself or disappointed in the world. I find there's two remedies, right, before I go on to drugs. The first is time with loved ones, and the second is exercise. Those are my two antidepressants. This got very serious very fast, didn't it?
Yeah. Guys, now I need you to challenge Scott's negative or skeptic or half-empty picture of the world. Who feels a little more optimistic and has something to add? Okay.
Scott, could you tell us what you tell students if they ask you for the one advice for their life?
I have three. The first is, so kids come, we have office hours, and kids come to my office hours, and they never want to talk about brand strategy or digital marketing, which I teach. They want to talk about their careers. And I have a chart in my office, and on the y-axis is return on human capital. Your most fine, and most of you, very young audience, your most precious asset is your time and the trajectory of where you decide to invest your human capital. And then I have sex appeal. You want to open nightclubs, restaurants, go to work for Vogue, produce movies, you better get a lot of psychic income because you're not going to get the same return on investment that someone who goes into software as a service scheduling healthcare maintenance. If it sounds cool, the returns are low. I don't invest in anything that doesn't sound awful and boring. Cool and money are the enemies of each other. 2, you will know failure. Everyone knows failure personally and professionally. And one of the axioms that I've always found is true is that nothing is ever as good or as bad as it seems. You are most vulnerable to make a terrible mistake right after a big victory, because you start believing the victory is a function of your character, and you forget that a lot of it was just luck. At the same time, when things go poorly, you have a tendency to be too hard on yourself, not recognizing that that was bad luck. So you're not the genius nor the idiot you think you are at any given time. And then finally, figure out the difference between success and fulfillment. Success in our society is the idolatry of money, the idolatry of innovators. We're all here because we want to be seen as an innovator and get rich. Once you get to a certain level of economic security, the link between that and happiness is almost nil. Rob hung himself. Clearly wasn't fulfilled. Figure out what it is you find in your life that gives you reward. I know I'm going to show this to my grandkids, and I'm not going to be excited about at one point having been seen as knowing something about digital marketing. I'm going to be excited about the fact that I was crazy enough to put on a wig and dance. And I think that's the key to being fulfilled. That's all I have.
One question, Scott. There's also a lot of aspiring edtech entrepreneurs out there, and the message you just sent was not very positive. Any good outlook for aspiring edtech entrepreneurs, or would you just say, don't do it?
Yeah, do it. Just try to get to Facebook or Google as quickly as possible. Look, somewhere in this room is the next Facebook or Google. Every year or 2 years, somebody breaks through. Zalando is an inspiration. There's some incredible companies, and in Europe, I don't think things are bad. I actually think regulation is a good thing in the form that helping smaller players pop through and help in making sure big players don't get too competitive. I worry though that we're in a winner-take-all environment, and that we're ending up. When I got out of business school, we all kind of made the same amount of money, which isn't necessarily a good thing. But there were a lot of people hitting doubles and triples and doing okay. And now it seems like there's a small number of hugely successful companies, and part of that is just the function of scale in a global economy. So absolutely, there'll be somebody here who breaks through and does incredibly well. I think the key is just to find something you like, and I'm not here with a message of hope around it. I think our environment is way too much winner take all. I don't think it's healthy, and unfortunately, I don't have a great answer for it. I don't have a solution.
Does anybody else have a question from the bar?
Everyone's just drinking. Thank you very much for the rest of the conference. Oh, one more.
The outlook which you gave on pure play e-commerce is either pessimistic as on edtech, I would say. Would you now tell entrepreneurs to rather open offline stores instead of online stores?
No, there's an algorithm for success for online companies, and that is open online, show scale, show a product category that you bring something sensible to or a vision to, bring merchandise, raise capital, show that you understand technology, scale, and start to raise